Good day. Good day to be done with this, recruiting cycle and kind of on to the next. I think our coaches did a really awesome job throughout the whole thing. I think we feel really strongly about this class in general. That's the best way to probably put this is I think we just feel really good about these kids. I think you go down the list and thank you. Go down this list and can make a case for, why we were so excited for each one of these guys. The two kids that we added late, Asa Turner and Daniel Haimuli. I mean, we're really, really excited to be recruiting those guys for a long time, and to finally get them signed and coming here is an exciting time. I mean, those guys will make us better, and so it's good. What do you got, Kim?
Well, I know you always look forward to me asking you about going down the whole list. Can you go down the whole list?
I didn't bring the list out. Oh, yeah, this two list? Absolutely. I think Ace is a big, athletic, rangy guy. That is what we kind of like back there. Those bigger guys that can come down and tackle in space. The secondary is certainly an area of need with the guys that we graduated with our numbers back there. So not only Asa, but all those guys that are coming in are going to get a great chance to compete back there for significant time. And so feel really good about him. And Daniel, I think the thing that Daniel was interesting because Noah Nagalu and Daniel are teammates out of Menlo Atherton. So we're obviously watching tape of all of our guys all season long. And, I think Daniel was one of those guys that we really liked a ton as a junior. We thought he was one of the better players with a really big upside. And I think his senior year, you could kind of see him each game, every other, like just getting better. And it's really what we thought. It's like he's a good player that's like getting better. And so we were even more excited, than we were when we originally were recruiting him because you're projecting on a lot of these guys because they're young. But I think that Daniel got better this season for sure.
But I wanted to ask you, kind of like Asa Turner, where, another school is recruiting him as a linebacker. You guys like him more as a safety. Are you getting into more of that mold where safety linebacker kind of is a hybrid and same thing with a guy like that?
Well, we know what our safeties look like to us. We know exactly what we want them to look like. I think that says a lot about Asa that, somebody wanted him to play a different position than we did. That's his athleticism and his size. So that's an interesting, dilemma for a kid to have. But for us, we know exactly, where we want to play him, where we think he's going to excel and thrive.
How much do you think the fact that you were recruiting him at safety appealed to him?
I think probably at the end of the day, I think it did appeal to him. I think part of it is he's trying to maybe figure out exactly where he thought in his mind he'd fit the best. But in our mind, it was pretty clear cut. Yeah.
Chris, could you talk about preferred walk-ons, how important that is to your program, how many you think might come in?
Yeah, we will get a handful or a little bit more. And I think at this point, I don't think I can say anything about those guys till they actually get on campus here. But that's always been important to us. I mean, I think, over the years, this recruiting is a science. Is an art, not a science. And we're the first to know that, like you're projecting and all that. And I think there's good players out there for whatever reason. Maybe you didn't pull the trigger on, but you'd like them to join your program. And, the thing that I like about how we've always run our program is, walk on, scholar, it doesn't matter, scholarship. I mean, when you come in this locker room, we are all the same. And the guys that produce, they play. And so we'll have some good walk-ons that will help us.
Part of the recruiting process?
Today. My favorite part of the recruiting process is really when you get down to it. When you know a guy fits you and you know that the family feels strongly about Washington, about our program, that you've really weeded through so many different players and looked at all, like that's hard, grinding, work that, you have to do to get to the guys that you really think fit you. And that's the best part. That's when recruiting is like, it's good, you know, because you've really done a lot of work and you feel strongly about those kids. And then at that point, you know, you want them to go where they fit the best. You get really excited when we've been doing this a lot longer than they've been doing it. You know, we've been doing this over 30 years, so we have a really strong idea of like what we want it to look like. They have to figure this out with all these other good places that are interested in them. You know, that's kind of the problem. There's a lot of good places, and it's like the trick is where do you fit the best? And that's where the guys should go, is where they fit the best. I mean, there's always another player, you know, for whatever university. But, you know, that's when it's special for the guys. Like, he got himself into a position where, like, he just fits those coaches, that university, that culture, all those things. And so when you get to that point where it's, like, kind of down to the wire, like, I think we enjoy, like, recruiting those guys.
Some of your recruits were here on visits for basketball games, too, and the electricity that's in this building with Hopkins program, is that kind of a new sales tool?
Oh, yeah, that's awesome. I think we can, sometimes it doesn't coordinate, you know, visit-wise when they're going to be here, but if we get a basketball game and, you know, those guys are doing such a great job, and, I mean, it's like, you know, those guys taking their players to a football game when Husky Stadium is filled up. I mean, there's nothing like it. You go into that juiced up arena. I mean, everybody loves energy, right? I mean, that's what it's all about.
When you look at this recruiting class, is it done right now? Or is there an opening for another person or two players to join the next day or month or 2 months?
We're recruiting 24/7. You know, we're recruiting 2 years back from now if we find the right guys, and so it's always recruiting season.
Just heavy Polynesian. Big year in Hawaii for you.
Yeah.
Is that just because it was a banner year in Hawaii, or are these dividends that have been sowed from a long time ago? Heavy Polynesian.
I think that, you know, the state of Hawaii and the University of Washington have always had a great relationship over the years. You know, sometimes it's cyclical in terms of how many you get from there. I think Akaika did a fabulous job recruiting his position and that area as well. And so that was awesome. But, you know, I think the thing that every time I go to Hawaii that I really appreciate about it is it's a football place. They like football a lot. And you like people that like football. And so that's what always jumps out to me. Like, the families appreciate it. They're passionate about it. And that's what we're trying to do, is find, you know, kids that are passionate about football that are good players. And I think that's one of the things that really, you know, happened this year.
There was a stat that came out yesterday that said Pac-12 recruits, or 2 to 3 star recruits that developed into first or second round draft picks. And you were far and away the first with 15 of those guys. Kyle Whittingham had 9 and David Shaw 5, but Washington was for the under-recruited guys that developed. You know, what do you make of that stat, and what does that mean to you?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like, you know, this recruiting thing has taken a life of its own, and it's so subjective. I mean, it really is. I mean, that's why we like the season, because it's very objective. You either win or you don't. And you don't really know how this thing's going to go with these kids for a few years. And so that's why I always say we never get that's preseason rankings. You know how I feel about preseason rankings. They mean nothing. And so, but postseason rankings, what you're talking about, we're completely into. But that's, you know, that's a credit to, I think, our coaches. I mean, they recruit the guys that fit us. I go back to that whole thing. And when you recruit the right guys, you can really develop them. And that's what we try to make this program be all about. And I think our coaches, and I'm not saying anything about me, it's just these coaches, like, they get that. And it doesn't matter what somebody else is saying about them, good, bad, or whatever. We just do our own homework, and if this guy we think is a good player that fits us, that's what we do. Now, it's much more specific than that. It's not like, oh, he's a good player, and we think, I mean, there's a lot of research and homework that goes step by step. But our coaches, like, they do the hard work to really try to figure this out.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple ways you can look at that. One is you guys just see something that maybe other coaches don't, or that's, like you said, the right fit. or you guys are actually doing something to develop these guys in a way that other staffs aren't doing? Do you look at one first then?
I mean, I don't know about other staffs. I just know what our coaches have done, and we did it where we were before. They did it before, and so we believe strongly in how we go about this. Rankings or no rankings, and that's why I say about this class, I have no idea what anybody else is saying about them. But I do know that we feel really good about it. We feel very strong. I know nobody's going to get up on signing day and say, man, we feel bad about this class. I mean, that's just, that's why it's kind of like you roll your eyes a little bit, because who's going to say that? But, I mean, we just kept looking, and we just try to add pieces to the puzzle in this long recruiting process, and we're like, this is a good player. This really fits this. And you add another one, and, we don't worry about the guys that don't come here. We need to worry about the guys that come here. That's what everybody gets messed up on, is that how many guys do people take that don't pan out? That's what hurts when a guy doesn't. So don't worry about that. Just the guy that we get has got to pan out for us. And so it's just kind of like how we look at that whole thing, and it doesn't matter and you got to be really disciplined in this process to not get caught up in the currents that are pushing you certain ways in this. You just got to stick to your way, which our coaches have really done a great job of over time.
Receiver in college during the early Saturday today.
Yeah.
Hiring junior in between that, just kind of how do you look at the receiver position now going into the spring? And was it always a plan to kind of just sign one, given the numbers in this class, at receiver? Or?
I think we're never locked in at any one position saying we're only taking this amount. We start with some structure, and then we see who's out there and how good of players we think they are. And then we might take less, we might take more. And it's just kind of fluid like that. So, getting back to Junior, really excited to have him here. He's interesting. He's one of the guys that I hasn't coached with, but I feel like I have, because he's been around so many people that I know, and it's been so close. And so to finally get him here and, be with him is awesome, because, he was over Boise, but not when we were there, but he knows he knows our system. He knows that system really pretty well, and all those things.
Recruiting and developing Cooper Kupp, that's kind of become one of his main staples in terms of a recruiting pitch and just being able to develop players. Is that something you kind of keyed in on why you hired him specifically?
Yeah, I think Cooper Kupp is a rare, unique player. I don't know him, but I know a lot of other guys that he coached that all of them stand on the table for him. So you guys want to go with the flash and all that kind of stuff as always. I go with the meat and potatoes, guys that played well, that might not have these, marquee names, but actually when you see what they've done as receivers have produced. And so some of these kids that we've known for a long time were able to do that, and that's where we get, excited about, okay, this guy's going to be good.
Was he able to be in this last push here for the 2019?
He's just here a short time, and this recruiting process is a long process. So it was awesome to have him with us a little bit to show our style and get him to know some of our kids and those type of things.
Like you said that the rankings are so subjective, but every year you've had more four-star recruits than the year before. Has anything about the process or the kid that you highlight changed from year 1 to year 5 to now?
I don't know. Are they ranked higher because now we're getting them and people give them more stars? Because now, I don't know. I can't, it's hard for me to answer that question. Again, we just look at tape and study tape, and, it's how we've always done it. We think these are really good players. And then do these players like us? And then do we think that they fit us? Because I think there's different things, being a really good player and then the fit and all those things. So I don't know, but like I said, we just look at our list and feel great about it.
You can't talk about, but just on Twitter, you got an announcement of a guy who says he's going to walk on, and he had 2 high-level Pac-12 offers. What does that say about what's going on with Washington football?
Yeah, like I said, I think we're going to get some. I always, would brag about a lot of the walk-ons we had. I think, back in Boise, we had 4 or 5 guys playing the NFL that walked on. And so that's all that is, all that intangible subjectivity that I'm talking about. It's like these are, we wouldn't want a kid to come here on any circumstance we didn't think could really help us. Now, how much they can help us depends on all this intangible stuff and how they develop, which we don't know until we get them here. But, I think it's an important part of our program, and we take pride in that. And then, eventually some of those guys will earn scholarships. I think since we've been here at Washington, I think we've had like 10 guys go on scholarships. So 5 years, about 2 a year that are going on, and that's awesome. I mean, that's really cool.
This is the second year of the early signing period in December. Has it just become now that is the more important time to get guys?
Yeah, I mean that's the there's going to be a few guys that still haven't decided for whatever reason, but by far the majority, that's the signing period. I don't think it's going backwards, in terms of that. So
the early enrollment opportunities now kind of change, I guess, the importance of that for those kids who are, they're signing in December, now they can be on campus in January for activities.
I just think it goes to what we've known all along, that so many of these guys are decided, in the summertime or in the fall. So I think that's why the coaches were always pushing it so much. Well, why don't we just sign them early? Why do we have to drag this out another month and a half or so? Because they're ready to sign. And I think since we've had that early signing period, that's what you've seen. They've been ready.
How drastically does the early signing period change your process in January as far as focusing on maybe 2 or 3 kids and then also looking ahead to the next year or the next 2 years down the line?
It doesn't change the process a whole lot there. What makes it hard is we only get out so many days before it goes dead, and then you play in a Pac-12 championship. That takes a week of recruiting away, and so we have a lot of guys committed, and I always try to go see everybody, and sometimes you can't get to everybody. So that's a little bit different and, unique in the whole process. But other than that, I think most everybody likes the early one, and then there's a few kids that you're still talking to that haven't figured it out, and which is fine, I mean, the big thing is that they make a good decision for them.
Chris, Sports Illustrated yesterday released a national study of the databases of recruits and measuring the uncommitted offers that are out there versus the spots available in the biggest program. And the number, I think, for 2017 was nationally 15,000 offers. 15,000 offers? For 1,600 spots. And the school that led was 400 by Tennessee,
right.
5 spots. Right. And I'm sure you understand the story about that. I just wondered, what was your number for this year's class in terms of offers? And then do you think there's an inherent unfairness in this for the player and his family?
Yeah, there's definitely different strategies. And, I think when you offer a guy, the earlier, probably the better of getting their attention. And so sometimes for us, I always say, I don't mind offering early. I really don't. But we're not going to offer early unless we have a pretty good idea that this guy really fits everything. And that takes time and work to figure that out. So I think we operate on one end of that strategy that sometimes does kind of work against us. But at the end of the day, we think it still works best for us. I think the last 2 or 3 years, we've been one of the bottom 3 in the Power 5 conferences to offer the least amount of scholarships. And we kind of take pride in that. It kind of keeps us focused, and they really mean something to us.
Your number was this year?
It was, I think it was in the low 100, 120 or 30 or something like that. That number, we don't have a target number. We just try to, the guys that we're offering, we really feel like we're trying to recruit and get to know. And if there's not interest or it doesn't work as you go forward, then we try to find another guy. But I know we're on the lower end. I don't know exactly what the number is. I got it in my office. I just don't remember what it is.
The question about the fairness issue.
Yeah.
I realize you've got to deal with the rules the way they are. It's a competitive situation. But can you look at that and say that if the school isn't going to stick with it, it's kind of an unfair thing for the players, especially those families going through it for the first time?
I wish the whole recruiting process would slow down, but everything's going the opposite way. It's going faster and faster. like part of this time that we've been out, you know, recruiting just a couple guys, a lot of our coaches are looking at the younger guys. And so now all these offers are coming out earlier than they ever have to the younger guys. And so the whole thing just keeps getting accelerated and accelerated, which I don't really think is better for the overall picture of, you know, for the kids, for just the whole process. And so I think, you know, a lot of coaches would agree with that, but it is what it is, so you got to play the game. And so how does the game work best for you? And that's where everybody gets kind of their style and their philosophy. But I think if you slowed it down a little bit, I think it could help those things, but it seems to get accelerated. That's maybe one thing with the early signing period is maybe doing is accelerating it for even the younger guys when you're out. Like, it's almost like this has been spring recruiting that's coming in a couple months has been going on here the last month.
When you look at this class, is there a position or an area where you say, okay, we need to continue to emphasize this going into next year and the year after more so than other places?
I don't think so. I don't think there's one. I mean, it's comprehensive. It's, you know, it's always, you know, sometimes there's a number issue. Like maybe our numbers aren't exactly where we would like them. We're off by a player or two. Then you're trying to like accelerate the numbers there. But we're going to recruit guys at just about every position. You know, I think every position, I think, is when we go in. And then if it, you know, we don't find the right guys or, you know, then you adjust and go from there.
That recruiting thing that we're doing now, but the transfer portal. I mean, I hadn't even heard of it until a couple months ago. What are you doing with that? How are you dealing with it?
We're not really dealing with it yet. You know, we haven't. We're looking at it and, you know, figuring out what we are doing with it. I mean, I don't know. I don't know where that's going. You know, I don't have enough information to really have like a stance on this whole thing.
Anybody who was on the roster last year with eligibility left, aside from Byron and Taylor, who you know won't be around next year?
I think the only one is Devin Burleson. He graduated. He graduated, but he technically could have played another year, but I think he's moving on to grad school and those type of things, but I think he's the only one.
Looked like maybe a serious injury for DJ in the road.
So DJ's in the building and getting rehab.
Kellen Moore getting the OC job for the Dallas Cowboys as his old coach back in the day.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we keep talking about younger and earlier, right? I mean, I think it even happened in the NFL for coaching. I think it's, I mean, if anyone that it made sense for people that I've been around, it made sense for Kellen Moore. I mean, just how he had been as a freshman coming in mentally, and how he studied the game and how he paid attention. Like, I have so many Kellen Moore stories that don't really have to do with him playing. They have more with how he prepared when he was young and all those. I mean, they're just, I still like use him as an example. It's like it was just different. And so for him to be the OC at such a young age is not really surprising to me. Like I said, if anybody out of the people that I know would expect that out of, I'd expect it out of Kellen.
Got a couple more minutes, Jeff.
That's it, huh?
Have you had a chance to talk with Jake getting ready for the draft at all?
Just a little. I haven't talked to him in the last couple weeks. But all of our guys, we have some guys that are in our weight room and working in town and doing those different things that are really all excited and preparing and getting ready to take that next step.
Running as fast as John Ross without the spike.
No, yeah, I didn't really. I saw something about that. Is that what it was? So he ran faster or as fast as John Ross? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, John Ross can, you know, change directions and catch touchdowns and all that. I don't know if he's saying. I mean, I think a lot of guys like to give him a chance to do that if he wants to come out, you know, play some ball. I don't think it's surprising. I mean, that guy is something else.